All right, today we are diving into the life of a man who decided to take on the entire power structure of 18th century France. And his weapon of choice? Well, it was the most dangerous one of all, knowledge. His name was Denis Diderot, and his story is just an incredible tale of intellectual rebellion to change the common way of thinking. Now, that wasn't just some nice-sounding phrase. That was the actual mission statement for the Enlightenment's most unbelievably ambitious project, the Great Encyclopédie. This was a project designed to shake the very foundations of the old world. So, who was this guy? I mean, before he became this icon of the Enlightenment, he was a troublemaker, a prisoner, and honestly, a genius working in the shadows. So let's really meet the man behind the legend. We're going to follow Diderot's incredible journey from being this restless student who completely defied his family to becoming the architect of a project that would literally ignite a revolution of the mind. You know, Diderot was actually supposed to have a pretty respectable life. He was born in a provincial town, son of a skilled craftsman. But he was drawn to the big city, to Paris. And after he got his degree, he just refused to settle down. He chose this wild bohemian life over a stable career. And for that, his father basically cut him off, disowned him. This forced him into a decade of poverty, which, as you can imagine, really shaped his lifelong distrust of authority. So Diderot's living hand-to-mouth, working as a writer for hire, and he starts to publish his own ideas. And let me tell you, these ideas were provocative. He was questioning everything: religion, the monarchy, the very fabric of reality. And it didn't take long for the authorities to sit up and take notice. You can see right here just how fast he went from being a brilliant student to a full-blown threat to the state. In just about a decade. The final straw was his work, Letter on the Blind. In it, he suggested that our knowledge, our morality, it all comes from our senses, not from God. And whoa, that was a dangerous line to cross. His punishment? 3 months locked away in a dungeon. A pretty harsh lesson about the real price of free thought. But here's the thing. You'd think getting thrown in prison would quiet him down, right? Nope, not Diderot. It just made him smarter. As soon as he got out, he started the project that would define his entire life. What he called a machine de guerre, a war machine, cleverly disguised as a dictionary. Now, this is so important to understand. The Encyclopedia wasn't just a big book of facts. It was a revolutionary act. The whole point was to gather all human knowledge and look at it through the lens of reason. It was about saying, hey, the work of a blacksmith is just as important as the ideas of a priest. Now, he couldn't do this alone, obviously. He put together a whole army of contributors, more than 140 of them, including intellectual giants like Voltaire and Rousseau. But the real heart and soul of the whole operation, that was Diderot himself. He personally wrote, get this, an estimated 7,000 articles on everything from philosophy to how to make a lock. This project completely took over his life. We're talking 25 years, a quarter of a century. And that monumental effort turned into a constant, brutal battle for survival. I mean, the encyclopedia was just under relentless attack. The government banned it. The Pope condemned it. His co-editor and good friend, D'Alembert, actually quit because of the pressure. Diderot even found out his own publisher was secretly sneaking around and cutting out the most controversial parts behind his back. And yet, somehow, he kept going, working in secret to get the job done. Okay, this is where the story gets truly astonishing. While Diderot is fighting this huge public war over the encyclopedia, he is also secretly writing his most original, his most radical stuff. Masterpieces that he knew were just way too dangerous to ever publish in his lifetime. It's like there were two Diderots, you know? There was the public figure writing plays and art reviews, but then there was the secret philosopher. And in these hidden works, he explored these explosive ideas about a world without God. He wasn't just questioning religion. He was arguing that we're basically just bundles of desires, that morality isn't some divine law, but something complex that society just made up. I mean, these were ideas so far ahead of their time, they basically predicted thinkers of the 20th century. So after decades of struggling for money, of being constantly persecuted, in his later years, Diderot found a savior. And she came from the most unlikely place imaginable, an empress from all the way over in Russia. So Catherine the Great hears that Diderot is in financial trouble. And she doesn't just send him some cash. Oh no, she makes this grand gesture. She buys his entire library for fortune, and then she hires him to be its librarian, paying him 50 years' salary right up front. This finally gave him financial freedom and led to this extraordinary 5-month visit to her court in St. Petersburg. And their conversations were anything but formal. They would debate every single day, and Diderot would get so worked up, so into the argument, that he'd forget all the rules of court and start grabbing and slapping the Empress's thighs to emphasize a point. As Catherine herself wrote, their debates got so intense, she literally had to put a table between them just to protect herself. Diderot died in 1784, and at the time, he was celebrated mostly as the editor of the Encyclopédie. The world wouldn't discover his secret, most brilliant works for decades. So what's his legacy? What's the crucial thing to remember about this tireless, complicated genius? Well, his impact was just immense. The Encyclopedia didn't just collect knowledge, it gave an entire generation of revolutionaries the intellectual ammunition they needed. His art reviews basically invented modern art criticism. His secret novels weren't just stories, they were philosophical experiments, creating entirely new ways for fiction to explore what it means to be human. And his vision of a universe without a god pulling the strings, that was centuries ahead of its time. And this right here, this is his true power. Diderot's real, enduring legacy isn't just the answers he gave us, but the profound and frankly unsettling questions he dared to ask. Questions about morality, about meaning, about our place in the universe that, let's be honest, we are still wrestling with today.